Life gets to be so fresh and so new every moment. It never gets dull when you're just really, really open and available to everything that there is in this room, for instance. So I ask people, like, who are listening to this, like, create a relationship with the space that you're in. It's not dead.
Yeah.
You know, it's like create a relationship with your body, with the clothes, with like everything that's like interacting. It's all part of this one beautiful soup of life.
The resource of love is like an unlimited resource, and you can give that love to anybody.
Escaping that capitalistic notion that you always need to have more or to be more.
People often look at like the finished product of things and kind of just assume, oh, I need to get to there.
Why can't these animals that we share the same lineage with share the same similar experience?
Acceptance of the self.
Yeah.
From the moment we're born to the moment we die, that's one of the main driving forces of existence.
Only constant in life is that things change. I knew that it was never going to be the same.
Inner Freedom Podcast, hosted by Olivia, Chevallier.
Welcome to the podcast. This is Raahul Raja, amazing human being. We only met, what was it, a month ago?
2 months ago.
2 months ago? Oh, it's
Yeah.
been 2 months already. Wow, time goes by very quickly. Here in Koh Phangan, Rahul was doing a visa run here to Koh Phangan, and we just ended up talking for hours at a party, just completely spontaneously.
Totally.
I actually went to go and sit to be with myself and have some time to just like center, because I'd been there with my friends for like 4 hours at this point, and my energy was just like, I need to just relax for a minute. And then you just came over and the conversation was just natural. I don't even know how we got onto it, but we quickly escalated into quite deep topics of conversation. So I kind of knew instantly that we were going to be friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Felt the same way.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. And now 2 months later, you've come back here to Koh Phangan for your visa run again, and to do a nice podcast together, which is awesome. So I feel like I know you really well from the conversations we've had, but there's so much more to learn, which I'm looking forward to in this podcast. You're really into like your spiritual journey right now. You're really dedicating your time towards finding like wholeness within yourself and clearing ego and clearing like all of the sort of ties that are holding you back from being able to have this self-realization.
Correct.
And, you know, really dedicating your life to trying to help other people to find that inner peace and stillness within themselves, which is really beautiful.
Thank you.
Obviously, you have a massive following on Instagram, posting like inspirational videos and helping people learn about their spiritual nexus. But I feel like talking to you in person, there's so much more to you than just the things that we see on your Instagram. So I'm excited to share with my audience and your audience the real Rahul behind the curtain.
This will probably be the most realist, you know, I've ever come across on the online plane, for sure. Because realness for me really comes down to feeling this intimacy and relaxation into completely just being the most natural expression of yourself. Yeah. And you, for some reason, seem to invoke that out of me.
Yes.
So it's a good thing that we're doing this, and I'm able to show this as well to people. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that I can bring it out of you. So I guess I kind of just want to start just by giving our audience, for those of who don't know you, just a bit of like a background into who you are. Yeah. So what's your origin story? Like, how did you get here right now?
Yeah, so first, you know, to realize that I've always been here. In a way, we've always been here. But in this avatar of Rahul, I've been here for about 26 years on this planet now. I have explored a lot of different ways to navigate this life, to live this life. Some of it which worked better than others in terms of me just getting to experience more of the juice of life. So I've gone through the unconscious route, which is to be programmed and to like live in fear. And I've also now started to incorporate more of the heart-centered route, which is more about love, which is more about presence, right? And seeing both sides of it was very crucial for me. So I wouldn't say I came from a necessarily like a holy, sacred family or anything upbringing. We were just casually religious. And then I had my Kundalini awakening at the age of 21, which was a big incident that essentially awakened my energy body to a place where I was able to witness parts of reality that were not available to me before. And this gave me a tremendous possibility. It did not do the work for me, but it showed me what I could be if I embodied my higher self in this human existence.
What triggered it?
Just spontaneous, completely spontaneous.
Were you meditating at the time?
No, I was in a jungle in midnight, and I was in a car, and it happened, and it happened there, and it lasted about 6 hours. And I've spoken about this on another podcast about how that whole experience was. It was really, really like giving birth. But I'm a man, so I don't really know what giving birth is like.
It's probably a lot less painful than it would be.
Yeah, a lot less painful, I'm sure, but it was the kind of energetic movement in my body that essentially showed me a trailer of what it's like to not live with trauma, to not live with a lot of that clutter and ancestral baggage that we even carry into this life, you know? What life is like without that, it showed me like a temporary movie for 6 hours. And it was just incredible, like what I got to see. I got to experience speaking languages that I didn't know. I got to be able to feel into my friend who was sitting next to me, his mind and his heart, and get to feel into his whole existence on a deeper level. I was able to be so much more confident, which we'll speak about clarity and confidence, and rooted in my ground. So it went chakra by chakra and essentially activated me for a few hours to get me to see what I am in truth. But then it came down.
Yeah, as always.
As always.
Yeah.
And I still had to integrate all of it. You know, I still had to essentially work through what it had shown me. All right. And life is the medicine that has helped me do that in these last 4 years. Along the way, there were many healings that happened. I'm just giving you a paraphrased journey because it would take too long. A lot of healings, a lot of spontaneous healings of many diseases that I used to have, like ADHD, sciatica, you know, many different what you call imbalances energetically in my body got balanced out. And in that journey, I felt so inspired to want to like share this with other people that I started my own social media page. And like through that journey, I've been getting to know myself a lot more, because when you have hundreds or millions of people watching you, essentially, there's this big party that wants to protect itself, that doesn't want to show all of the rawness.
Yeah, it's funny because it's sort of like, you know? There's like a craving to be seen. Yeah. That all humans have this deep need to feel seen, to feel like they belong, to feel accepted by a tribe or by a group that we value. But at the same time, there's also a fear of being seen. Yeah. Because there's like this you desire to be seen for the character that you want to be. Yeah. But then there's also like the fear of being seen, like people are going to see your imperfection and the humanity and like the raw moments where you're not feeling your best, you're in a state of darkness, or you have trauma, maybe you're angry, like so many sides of yourself that are also part of you that you're afraid of people seeing. So it's kind of like you want to be seen, but you want to be seen through like a lens of perfection. Yeah. But I find it's also, I mean, obviously I don't have a huge following at this point, maybe in the future, but I still feel like regardless, there's still that pressure, that pressure to try and show a side of yourself that you think is going to be inspiring. But something I've really found recently particularly is being vulnerable and actually showing your humanity, showing the fact that you are a multifaceted being that has ups and downs, moments of joy, moments of pain, actually makes you more relatable. And people seeing the full, you know, contrast of who you are actually helps them to connect with you in a deeper way, right? And that's like such a journey we have to go on of like, once we're able to accept ourselves and accept the trauma and the darkness within us, and the fact that it's the only thing that allows us to see the light, then we start to shift into actually like, okay, I accept this within myself. Yeah. I accept it within others, so I can actually show it to other people and allow them to learn to accept it within themselves too, right? By leading by example. Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's been an interesting thing for me to like either lead by this picture perfect example where I get to show parts of my being, or do I show the whole journey? Like I've even spoken to like mentors and coaches about this. Like, should I be like talking to people and showing people the worst moments of when I'm feeling like the lowest? Because like how I deal with it, how I process it, or what, are people ready for that? So anyways, this whole social media journey, which we can talk about later, has been like a real reflection, a mirror to get me to notice and see myself in many ways. Because everybody has a perception. Everybody has their own perspective. And like, it's like, do you get too caught up in that, or do you get to use them as tools instead of getting offended and seeing, okay, this person feels that I could show up more in my videos. This person feels like my videos are too intense. This person feels this way and that way. It's like, all right,
but I'm just more so in my flow now. I'm more so in my creative flow. I'm just allowing the river of my soul to just take me where it needs to take me, you know? So it's been interesting, but the journey that you asked, the question that you asked is, well, how's this journey been? The journey has really taken a big quantum leap in these last 4 months for me. It's all come down to presence and simplicity, right? So spirituality can really be that place where we can take it, where we're doing the work, we're doing the shadow work, we're integrating our personality, we're like getting to know our past, getting to know our family lineage, and doing all this work, and that's great. And then there's this part of the spiritual journey that's more, let's say, feminine in nature. The energy of femininity is just like letting go and just observing and being the witness.
Yep.
Relaxing of the body.
Receiving what is to come in life, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Letting life really show you and receiving it with open arms, right? Like, because life is like this medicine, but it's also a gift and it's also a game, all at the same time. Very multidimensional in nature.
Yep, and it's a real interplay. It's a balance, because I feel like there's a state that we all get kind of programmed into by our modern society, which is very much to like try and be in this kind of almost toxic masculine state of trying to control everything, trying to have a plan for everything, like know where you're going to be each 5 years, and if you don't figure that out, then you're a complete mess and you don't know what the fuck you're doing. But that, you know, even that isn't really truly the divine masculine either. But it's also important that you have that balance of like the masculine energy of like leading, structure, organization, problem solving, but then you also have that balance with the feminine side, the yin energy, which is to receive and respond, to invite, to seduce, you know, like you want to invite life to give you opportunities. And if you're always in this constant state of like, I need to control everything, I need to have a plan, I need to live from fear and always mitigate for the worst case scenario, then you're not opening yourself to receiving something that could come your way, right? And both men and women need to find that balance within themselves, like that balance that feels right for them between, you know, leading and following, leading and receiving, creating and just responding to the creation. And it's really nice when you do find that balance, because that's when life really starts to give you like treasures.
It does.
And those treasures aren't about big followings or a lot of money or like, you know, material success. It's not about that at all. It's really about, for me anyway, and for the people that I've met who I feel are in this state of like wholeness within themselves, it's about being able to like fully embrace and accept who you are and the life that you're living from a place of love, moment to moment, in this moment.
In this moment.
Because this is the only thing that really exists, you know? Like I was talking to one of my friends the other night about, you know, just my perspective on reality and how like, you know, the nature of the soul is that we're just going to constantly go through this state of every single soul is eventually going to reincarnate and, you know, find this state of enlightenment. And then a day and a night of Brahman is going to begin and end. And then everything returns to source, and then source just spits it all back out again, and boom, we've begun from the beginning once again, and we have to do this whole cycle. And he was like, so what's the fucking point then? If like no matter what we do, we're just going to keep cycling around life and death and rebirth and enlightenment and, you know, distortion. And the point is the moment, you know, ultimately the point is the moment. Like in this moment, can you find peace? Can you find joy? Can you be present and really just embrace the experience that you're blessed to have? Because that's all that really matters fundamentally. This is where I feel success really comes in, being able to find that fulfillment in yourself in this moment, grounded in love, grounded in peace, grounded in presence. Like this is like, wow, this is what everybody should be striving for, not just like more money, more stuff, more achievements. How can I get more of everything to gratify the ego, you know? So it's cool to be going on this journey of finding that balance, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And what I've noticed more and more over time is this idea of volition. For those who don't know what the word volition means, is this sense of will, right? We're going to discuss in this episode, which I really, really felt like we should talk about, is paradox. Paradox is one of the most like ever-present parts of reality and the existence of humanness and just in general. Like everything has a certain paradox to it. You do control your life, but at the same time you don't. Right? It is that yin and yang, but also now moving one step further into that, deepening into that. I've had the most productive 4 months of my life, these last 4 months, and I feel like I've not done anything. You know what I mean?
It's not in the doing.
You're not doing. You're just really just like, you're an instrument for the universe, and it's just playing its best symphony.
You're just in flow.
So this idea that like I create my videos, or I coach, or I write a book, or I'm the one doing it, I'm the one healing. This is like really, really something that comes up from a place of distortion.
Yeah, I agree.
Deep distortion.
Yeah, and people often, you see this a lot in like these spiritual and coaching realms where people are trying to teach self-love, self-acceptance, like embracing your higher self, all of these kinds of things. There's like a certain point where somebody starts to attach that to their ego, right? And they start to become like, oh, actually, I am the person who's reached all these states. I'm the one who's going to save you. And there starts to become like, it started from a place of purity, of wanting to find that within themselves and to like evolve into this like different state. And then at some point the ego once again grasps and says, no, this is your identity now, is that you are this leader, this like spiritual teacher that's going to change the world. And it's not even about you. You're like a vessel almost. Like, I'm sure you've probably felt the same way, but whenever I've been in like a state of flow in my life, whether it's like with creativity, coaching, writing, whatever, I feel like it's like I'm just channeling something within myself, and I'm not thinking so much about it. I'm just like doing whatever feels right in the moment from a state of like presence, instead of always like trying to like think, okay, how can I do everything so I can fit this persona that I'm building and create this life that I have this imagination for. But instead you're just flowing from a place of like channeling almost, right? Yeah. That's what we're doing. Just like the universe experiencing itself through a million different lifetimes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
We all are.
We all are, right? So for me, what's come through a lot is practicing presence in every moment of the day. Like whether I'm even doing an intense workout, I'm doing like my max bench press at the gym, like I want to just relish that moment so much. Before we began this podcast, I even told you I'm just relishing this moment. I'm loving it. I'm just loving it, you know?
Me too.
And I'm just loving life. And like life gets to be so fresh and so new every moment. It never gets dull when you're just really, really open and available to everything that there is in this room, for instance. So I ask people like who are listening to this, like create a relationship with the space that you're in. It's not dead.
Yeah.
You know, it's like create a relationship with your body, with the clothes, with like everything that's like interacting. It's all part of this one beautiful soup of life.
Yeah, I like
all of it, everything. And we sometimes didn't start to turn into biases like, oh, this part of the soup is like my favorite. Yeah. This is prettier than the sofa. But when we were just completely in a wide vision focus, I do this practice called wide vision presence, where I just completely stop focusing on any object and I just look at the whole like 270 vision degree zoom, and I start to see like this blanket of love.
Yeah.
That God and divinity is literally like here right now.
Yep.
And from that place, I softened so much more. And then I realized like that idea I was trying to film the video for, or trying to get that thing right, all I had to do was just soften up a little bit. And then it just came through me. It just flowed through me.
Yep.
It gets to be that simple, you know?
Yeah, and also, you know, people like Eckhart Tolle talk about this a lot. Like, if you can really be in that state of like true presence and appreciation for like everything around you, you can just like stare at like a chair or a bottle for ages and just like look at how fucking beautiful every single tiny detail is of just this like super simple, you know, normally insignificant object. And you can find appreciation in just being, fully just being. And there's so much in our day-to-day that we just kind of omit from our conscious awareness. We just walk around through life in our heads, creating simulations of what we think the day should go like or what happened yesterday, and we're not even being present, and we're just walking past so much beauty that we could actually just be fully relishing and experiencing, right? And I think that relishing and enjoyment really comes from a place of being able to recognize that everything is temporary, everything's going to pass. So it's important to just embrace the moment-to-moment experience, because I think a lot of the time we hold on so much to like the positive experiences, and we don't want it to change. We don't want it to shift. So we try really hard to then, when we start to feel things shifting, we try and control it and say, no, things are changing. They're coming out of this like state of bliss and joy that I was making the most of, and now I have to like grab onto it and control the situation. But the more that we can like relax and just say, this moment is beautiful. I'm enjoying myself. I'm connecting with people. I'm enjoying this hobby or this job, and it's amazing. But I also know it's going to pass. It actually helps you to be more grounded in the present moment and just relish each second so much more. And likewise, when things are uncomfortable, you know, when things are painful, when things are scary, when you don't feel grounded, when you feel disconnected from everyone, also just being able to embrace it and say, like, this moment right now, it's going to pass, but also it's going to teach me something. And when I come out of this moment and I'm feeling joy again, I'm feeling presence again, where I can actually just enjoy like being in a different state, I'm going to appreciate the fact that I went through this challenge. Because this challenge is actually the thing that allows me to appreciate the lightness when it comes back, you know? So I feel like recognizing that change is the only constant in our universe, like the only one, and consciousness. Those are the only two constants, in my opinion.
Correct.
Then we can actually embrace a life that's way more fulfilling. And your life feels longer when you can be present as well.
Correct.
You know? I've met some people who are in their like later years, 60s and 70s. And, you know, they're the kinds of people that they've built a habit throughout their whole life of always thinking to the future. Every single second, like they're always thinking about, what am I going to do next week? What am I going to do in 5 years? You know, what am I going to do when I retire? What am I going to do when I graduate university? Always thinking in the future. And they've gotten to like their 70s or their 60s and they feel like their whole life just rushed by, you know, like they're like, wow, time's just gone so fast. Like, enjoy the moments because you're going to wake up one day and you're going to be 70 and you're going to think, where did my life go? And it's because they've built habits from such a young age of always thinking in the future and not being present. They don't even realize that their whole life flashed by, you know?
Yeah, this is kind of the tragedy that I see unfolding a lot in the world. You know, because like I live in Bali, she lives in this paradise island.
It's amazing.
Which I'm so happy to be here. Sometimes we really, at least for me, I forget like, wow, people in most of society are literally living in a fear-based program.
Yep.
And it's very sophisticated. It's not like a fear that they constantly feel. It's like all of their life is essentially set up in a way to prevent them from falling into insecurity, right? But then this idea of security is so illusory because you can die any moment. So like, what security? I mean, I get it. It's important to have certain like boundaries when it comes to eating food and all that. But then if that's all your existence and expression turns into is maintenance of your body, maintenance of your relationships, not thriving, not loving, then you start to really disappoint your soul, you know?
You start to degrade over time.
You start to degrade over time. I know a lot of people like my guru, for instance, he's like not a young man, but in his number wise, but he looks younger than anyone I've ever seen. It's because all of this life force energy has been constantly moving up the spine. So I like to talk a lot about what you talked about, mindset. I talk about mindset is a product of.
I think it's a result of a combination of things, to be honest. Fundamentally, I think it's a response to things that we've learned in the body. I think your mindset, it's formed because of conditioning from society. It's formed because of traumas that you experienced in the past and the patterns that you built to try and prevent those same traumas from happening in different scenarios. I think there's like a spiritual aspect to it where we get like cut off from our intuition and we start to rely so much on our mind because it's the only thing that we've been taught how to trust. But even that we've been taught not to trust. We've actually been taught to trust the mindset that we've been given from our societal conditioning, you know, to look to the system, look to your elders, look to your schooling to tell you how you need to be as a person and to not trust your intuition within the body at all. So I feel like it's kind of like there's a block from like the very root of you where like you don't even really feel grounded in yourself. You haven't even got like the root chakra. And because you don't feel grounded, you don't feel safe, you then can't feel any of the other things opening. At all, because it's blocked right at the base. So then, you know, you just rely on the thinking mind to save you from everything. And the thinking mind is completely programmed to be afraid of outcomes. And I think most people are constantly living in a state of like taking actions from a place of being afraid of repeating past traumas So they're always thinking forward to like the worst case scenario and saying, okay, the last time I experienced something like this, it led me to be traumatized. It led me to be rejected. It led me to be...
So they're living from their pain body.
They're completely living from the pain body.
Okay.
Yeah. The spiritual body is completely disconnected. The emotional body is like completely running from the amygdala, you know? And their mind is really the thing that's running the show. And their mind is also just a program that they're
let's just really clarify here how subtle this is sometimes. Meaning to the person who's going through it, it's nearly like impossible to catch yourself in the thick of it. You know what I mean? It really sometimes requires life to show you, and life is in a way designed to show us all parts of ourselves. Let me tell you, I can give you one spoiler alert for this life. You're not gonna not see anything before you pass away. Like you will be forced to see everything. And I don't like to use that word force, more so you would be gently invited to shown everything. Now it seems like force sometimes when we're resisting it, but there's no hiding from any part of you.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that people spend their lives hiding for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I think definitely in the older generations, you know, like the kind of baby boomers and the older millennials and stuff, I think they really came from this place of infinite distraction and also being, you know, raised by parents who haven't got very high emotional intelligence.
Correct.
So they spend their whole life just running away from facing these things through work, through getting drunk, going out and partying, just like distracting themselves. And you always find, like when you read about palliative care and, you know, these like studies that have been done on people who are in their final moments of life and asking them about their regrets and stuff, people always have so much regret about the fact that they didn't live their life themselves at all. They just completely distracted themselves. They followed a path that they were told was the right path and they didn't feel fulfilled. In that last moment of life, just before you die, you suddenly have this huge realization and you're like, oh, fuck, I wasted my whole time. It's like you finally learned how to dance, but the show is over in 5 minutes, you know?
That's a good one.
Yeah, like you finally get on the dance floor, you finally have the courage to go and dance, but then the music is ending in 5 minutes and you have to go home. Sorry, you figured it out too late. And I think that's why it's really important to have conversations like this and to create media that's actually shifting the perspective of the average person away from this like distraction mode, so they can actually start to like shift down a few gears and start tapping back into their body and their intuition and seeing the lessons that life is showing them. Because all along the way, there's all these roadblocks, there's all these traumas, there's all these things that go wrong, people that hurt you, situations that don't play out the way you want. And every single time you go into a state of like, oh, fuck, victim mode, it's actually you not realizing that this is learner mode, you know? Like when these things go wrong, this is your opportunity to learn and gain gifts in your life. These gifts that are going to change everything for you. So how did you shift from that place in your life? Because I'm sure there was a point where you, like you said, you were really caught in the Maya, the distraction zone. So what was it that changed for you? What was the penny drop moment where you started to shift things?
Okay, so there's many ways I can answer this question. Now, to keep it really simple, I can again say I did something, but once again, the stream took me there, right? And it's like, why did the stream take me there so early in my life, so intensely and so completely? It's just like it did the job essentially, right?
Woke you up.
Yeah, it does definitely woke me up. Now, there are many reasons behind this, right? Past lives, you know, a lot of energy work, having done a lot of like sadhana and everything in previous lifetimes and carrying that kind of energy body on into this life really created a set of circumstances for me that essentially awoke my kundalini real quick, which essentially leads you to live a life of complete self-honesty and integrity, which means that you can't lie to yourself anymore, which means that every moment there's this big eye that's seeing you all the time and you're very aware it's seeing you and you're like, it loves you. The part is it doesn't even judge you. This eye doesn't judge you. It loves you so hard that you're like, you feel just almost disgusted to not live in alignment, right? And when you don't, and you still don't listen to your body, then I have a very great feedback mechanism. I talk about this. Like life can really create this beautiful relationship with you where you're like, look, I want to grow. I want to evolve. Give me the feedback. And life will like, I'll show you the feedback.
Yes.
And it will show you in ways that perhaps might upset you in the moment, but it's so important to see it. Sometimes it might be your partner or somebody acting out and then it being like, it was in perfect divine order because it got you to see something that was clearly not meant for you, that was being hid under the rug.
Yep. And again, like, there's always a choice. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this life that we're living. There's free will. You know, each moment it's all about how do I open myself and receive myself to respond to what's happening in life from a place of like honesty and integrity. You know, how do I find what my values are and try and align myself with those values as much as I can moment to moment in my responses. And that's when I feel we start to really step into our power as experiencing individuals, because it is true. Like there's a moment I feel as well, I've had this moment where I was living very unconsciously and I was very much in like a state of like depression and denial and anger and resentment and blame, like hating life, hating everything that happened to me that got me to that place. And then I suddenly realized, fuck, it's my responsibility to change, to respond to this life in a different way. And the way I was responding up until that point, I was giving all my power away and saying like, I have no control here whatsoever. I'm just a victim in this life having a horrible experience. But actually I realized, fuck, I actually have to make a choice of how if I'm going to continue down this path, or if I'm going to start to shift and say, actually, no, I can learn. I can change the way I see things. I can change the way I respond to things. I can't change what's happening to me externally, but I can change how I respond to it. And that's my power. That's my destiny, ultimately.
There's really nothing wrong about having those moments where you feel like a victim. It's really when we don't have the awareness to match it and to be able to just be still with that feeling of being a victim. Because when we identify with it completely, you're allowing it to play out in your life.
Yep.
You're generating karma for yourself. Because let me just talk about karma. Karma, according to what I've really realized in these last few months, is not like some kind of punishment or anything. It's energy, right? Essentially, every single time you're acting from a place that's anything lesser than what matches source energy, source energy being unconditional love, then you're essentially, what you're doing is you're creating disorder in the universe, right? You're acting from your personal will to fit some means to an end that your ego will feel good for a bit, and then come back in that cycle again and again and again. That's not source. Source is about like all these leaves and these trees and this human, this divinity shining through, and that didn't come from God fearing that I better create a world. It's more like it's more like God just went out there and just created from love. So when you're not in that place and you're just completely in zombie mode, robot AI mode, where you're just kind of like responding to whatever your body's feeling uncomfortable, instead of giving it that space and silence, a moment in silence, to just witness, to just be with it. Okay, I feel like a victim right now. And just like breathing it, feeling the energy, coming back to our body, relaxing, not trying to change it, not trying to...
Just letting it pass,
just letting it pass, letting it play out, letting it play out. And then once it plays out, it's gone. Like there's no like needing to put effort to like stay there or anything, because our natural state
is to come back to being...
is Sat Chit Ananda. What is that? Truth, consciousness, and bliss. That's our natural state. If there was one insight that I received this morning in my meditation, it's to talk to the people and to talk about how perhaps we should maybe start to see ourselves from the other end of the stick as well. Because we're always looking at us as a lower self, and then we are so damaged and broken, and this whole healing thing sometimes. I'm not saying you are, but a lot of people have that thing where they're like, I need to heal.
Everyone's so focused on their traumas and what's wrong with them, right?
Yeah, what's wrong with them. It's great to have an eye on that. Be aware of that. But when that turns into your whole reality and your identity, it's like, I am in this healing mode right now. I'm in this healing journey. Healing from what? There's only one thing to heal from, and that's separation consciousness. Because if you let go of separation consciousness, then how can something happen to you anymore? How does your past influence you in a way that you feel like it happened to you and you need to carry it? You're carrying all of life inside you. You are in God consciousness at that point, when there's no separation between you and what's being perceived outside. So if there's anything to heal, it's really that.
The otherness.
The otherness.
The creation of otherness. The creation of, I am an individual that is fighting against the world to survive.
Right.
And everything is against me and everyone is against me. But like, I think there's layers to this, you know, and I definitely agree. I think particularly on islands like this, islands like Bali, where people go to heal and connect spiritually, there's almost too much of an overemphasis on healing and not enough of an emphasis on strengthening our ability to be present and love and connect. which is, you know, like it's such a thing here. Like, I mean, you come here to Koh Phangan and you will have endless trauma healing workshops. Even the Tantra workshops are just about trauma healing. Like everything's about trauma. And it's really like we're constantly conditioning ourselves to just feel like I'm broken. And it's funny because it really feeds into this like other narrative, which is quite prominent in the West in like Christianic societies, which is that, you know, you are born wrong.
Yeah.
You are born as a sinner. You are born tainted. You are born infected with this disease that you need to spend your whole life destroying in order to be worthy of being seen in the eyes of God. In this kind of spiritual movement that we're experiencing, where there's not really like a religion that we're following, but there's like a spiritual path, right? We're still carrying the remnants of this idea of what it is to be human. You're born wrong. You're born evil. You're born tainted. And you have to spend your whole life working off a debt because you are just wrong. And that's just not true. I actually personally believe you're born pure. You're born open. You're born without anything that tells you that you're right or wrong. You are just non-dual when you're born. You're just like this vessel for experiencing. And then everything in the society around us, from the moment that we're born, is trying to teach us that we're wrong. Teach us that our needs cannot be met except if we look to the external, that our value is not worth anything if it's not validated by others, that we can't be nourished, we can't be safe, we can't have anything unless the external is giving it to us. Because we also are shown by the external constantly from the moment we're born that it's not going to give us what we need. It's not going to give you everything that you need in terms of society, your parents, your school, money, safety. We then start to learn, oh, there is something wrong with me because I should just have all these things given to me from the external, but it's not happening. So that means there's something wrong with me. That means I am wrong. I am not worthy. So I need to spend my whole life chasing material wealth, chasing success, chasing approval, chasing validation, chasing the right body, chasing everything, just so I can feel finally that I'm enough and that I've washed away this wrongness that I learned from a young age. And there's such a focus on that. But the truth is, I actually believe to be truly spiritual, to be truly aligned with that, is to recognize that you are perfectly imperfect in this moment. The things that went wrong, the things that you did wrong, the things that you fucked up, the bad things that you do, like all of that is part of your journey of learning to see yourself as pure and beautiful, regardless of those things. But the truth is, we're all beautiful. We're all perfect. We all have this like divine within us right now in this moment. You don't need to go on this huge journey to like fix yourself because you've got it. It's there, but you just can't see it. It's like what we were saying the other night. At Rasta home, you know, it's kind of like the moment you're born, it's like you are able to look in a mirror, right? And over your life, you start to put like these veils or sheets of material between yourself and the mirror. And these veils are like translucent. You can kind of see through them. So you can still see in the mirror, but you see yourself wrong. You see yourself as a distortion. And as you go through this journey of learning to connect with like love, self-love, appreciation, presence, peace, acceptance, as you start to peel away those layers, you actually start seeing what you really are. And each sheet that gets taken away, you see the beauty that was there the whole time. You were looking at yourself the whole time.
Exactly.
But you just couldn't see it, right?
Exactly.
That's the healing. It's like realizing that actually there is no sheet between you. It's just you, the mirror, and the mirror is the world and everyone else. It's the same thing in everyone. And it's fucking beautiful. But I do think there are layers to it. Because we're living here as an ego in this world. And having this ego doesn't have to be a bad thing if you don't allow it to control you. If you are its master and it's not your master, but it's also important to recognize you do have a story that you tell yourself. And that mind, that thinking mind, for most people is going to be there their whole life. So it's about like, how do you start to make separation from that? In those moments where you start spiraling and thinking about negative things, how can you say, okay, cool, I am anxious right now. I'm depressed right now. I feel lost right now. I feel like a victim right now. But it's not me. I'm observing it. You know, I'm the observation of this experience of me. And just being okay with the fact that it's going to pass. Everybody's going to go through that in life.
Everybody.
Yeah. Everyone goes through the whole spectrum of emotions in life, whether we show it to people or not.
We're really here to live the full spectrum.
Yeah.
All the tastes, all the ingredients, all the colors, you know, we're here to like, why would it be here if it wasn't meant to be experienced in some way? See, like, I've realized for me, life is literally designed for us to come back home. So it's not like we have to, I mean, it's ideal, get a coach, therapist, healer, shaman, guru these are ways to make the journey more efficient. But if you just live, like as long as you're living, you are automatically taking whatever path back to source. That's just how life is designed. We live in a very intelligent universe where things like cannot be foreseen, or, I mean, like lost in the design. Like the design itself designed itself, so it's not like a designer had an idea.
Yeah.
Essentially, that design made sure that everything inside it is completely perfect in nature, meaning that a person just doesn't get lost for eternity. It's just impossible. So they all come back into this place, and they deepen in this place, and they deepen in this place even more and more. And what I realized, which I'd like to talk to you about more now, is how after a certain point, the best thing that you can offer somebody, instead of advice and seeing what their inner workings are and all that, and giving them more food for the mind, what you can offer is love.
Yep.
Presence.
Completely.
And love.
Yeah, just accepting them fully.
Just accepting them fully, being them with them fully, and relishing them fully for all that they are.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I just laugh in a really like cosmic joke kind of way at seeing how many personalities are playing out here.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful for me to witness.
And you can see yourself in all of them.
Exactly.
Right?
I can see myself in all of them.
Yeah.
Previously, I could see myself in all of them, but I didn't want to see it. So when I didn't want to see myself in you, and I met you 10 years ago, and you showing me a part of me that I don't want to see, the first thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to see you.
Yeah, you just reject.
I reject you.
Because you reject yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But now it's like so much more of like this beautiful movie playing out, and I'm like, oh, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me.
Yeah.
All of it is just me, because this separateness is really starting to dissolve with a lack of effort.
Yeah.
Presence doesn't have to come through us constipating ourselves into presence.
Yeah.
Constricting ourselves into presence.
So true.
It can come through ease and letting go as well.
Yeah, and it definitely is a testament to this notion that everything that you experience within is reflected to you on the outside, right?
Yes.
And again, it's like this within us, we're always being taught to criticize, to reject, to hide away from certain aspects of ourselves. So our whole lives, we don't really ever see anyone, because all we see in everyone is the things that we hate the most about ourselves, all the things that make us feel insecure about ourselves. And we don't really fully see anyone. We don't fully love anyone, because we're so busy just trying to get validation from everything externally.
Yeah.
But as soon as we can find this, like, acceptance of ourselves, and not just the self of the ego, but the self beneath that. Once you can accept that in yourself, and you say, oh, actually, the full spectrum of human experience is within me. I'm capable of the greatest anger and the greatest love, the greatest hatred, the greatest anxiety, the greatest joy. I'm capable of all of it. It's all within me. And I've accepted it within myself that is a part of who I am. So then when I see it in someone else, I'm like, yeah, you're just me as well.
Yeah.
You're just me as well. You're also capable of the full breadth of everything. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So once you can accept yourself, that you can accept everyone around you. Like there's things that I see in other people that are so beautiful and they inspire me. Like, wow, I want to embody more of that characteristic. But I know that it's in me. You're just showing me how I can bring that out more by being you. And it's beautiful. It's not always just the good stuff, like, oh, you're so inspiring, or you're so beautiful, or you're so positive. It's also like, wow, you can cry in front of someone. You can show your vulnerability. Wow, I know that I'm capable of that, but you're showing me how I can do more of that. And you can just see the light in other people and learn from each other. And I think that's why we have these different experiences. This is why we are living billions of different lives all interacting with each other. I believe that the universe needs to be able to see itself through multiple different lenses in order to learn about itself. We're all little raindrops flying through the sky, looking down at the ocean. And we're like, wow, the ocean's so beautiful. But then we don't really actually realize that we're the ocean until we land in the ocean. And we're like, oh, this was me the whole time. I was looking at myself. But I couldn't see it fully until I rejoined it.
That's the biggest, Ram Dass says, enlightenment is the biggest disappointment to the ego. Essentially, like, you realize that all the fighting was for nothing, but just you're already part of it. You're already the whole, And see, the thing is, I knew these things for many years. I've been in the spiritual journey for many years. But why has it only recently started to become a lived experience on a consistent basis, where it's not coming and going, where I don't have to read a book or listen to a pod or these are great, but how can we have this as a stable lived experience? It again comes down to using each moment as a real mirror, right? Really getting to witness that even when you're just sitting at home doing nothing, you can just completely have this like total seeing experience just by being here right now. And that's always available to you, whether you're at a club, whether you're at home, whether you're just doing some work. You can always start to feel into that experience and start to get to know what God is saying to you. You know, to all the people that are hearing this and that doesn't sound exciting, that's the most exciting thing when we start to do it. It's like the most beautiful, stimulating, and like most revealing experience when you just start to create this intimate bond with the now. Intimacy really begins first with the present moment. Present moment gets to show you yourself. Then you can be intimate with your partner. Well, or you can go the other way too.
Intimate with anything.
Intimate with anything. Yeah. Exactly. What I've realized in the past is that the way I used to go about intimacy is to seek intimacy through a person who would see me. Please see me. Please see me.
Into me, I see.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I want you to see me because I don't want to see myself. And then you see me and perhaps you accept me and then perhaps I'll see myself.
Yeah.
All we're trying to, again, come back to is intimacy with ourselves, right? It's like we're essentially trying to be one.
Yeah.
There's this constant like drive internally built into us for oneness.
Yep.
Right? And like even something like physical sex is like one of the ways to completely connect and unify yourself with another human being. But you can just do that by dropping deep in the now.
Yeah, and I also feel like any kind of connection or intimacy with another person or with a friend where you're just having this deep emotional exchange where you're just really connecting, I feel like all of these things are way more powerful when you first have that like acceptance and stillness within yourself.
Yes.
Because then you're able to fully be present in the moment. You're not needing to like look for validation from that person. You don't need to try and like find places where like you can separate yourself from them because you feel whole in yourself. You can come to the interaction fully willing to just give love and receive love without it needing to be like, oh, I need this in order to feel full. I need you to give me a certain word or a certain phrase or a certain touch for me to feel full and nourished because I feel good in myself already. So I can just accept you in whatever state you're in. So that means if you're coming to someone, maybe they need your help. Maybe they're not feeling so great. Maybe they are feeling really great. Like their energy is just fully received by you because you're not like needing it to be a certain way. Yeah. You know? And it's way more powerful.
One of the hallmark traits of what I've noticed when something is really in flow, when I'm really just open to life, is I feel light in my body.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you don't feel like an anxiety and a heaviness. It's just
this feeling that means to an end. It's like, you know, like for example, when I approached you that day at the place where we were at for the first time ever, I did not like even plan anything. I just like saw you. I felt this real pull and energy, and I just came up to you and said hi.
Yeah, it was.
You know,
really
it's like so organic and effortless, and life really gets to be like this. Even with the greatest projects, even with the greatest missions that you're on, you can just flow through it and enjoy it.
Yep.
You know, I sometimes really catch myself being like, man, I'm really here right now.
Yeah.
This is actually happening. This is actually happening. Yeah. You know, it's like, and this flood of bliss comes through in my being. Yep. Like you said, there's this interweb of like meaning. Yeah. You know, that God is essentially seeing itself, consciousness meeting itself. I like to look at it. It's like, it's so beautiful because a candle splits into two and then it comes back into one again. Yeah.
It does just invite you, you know? Like I think in life when anybody's looking to like find their purpose, connect with anything that you're doing, I feel like the more we can drop into our body and listen to the body as opposed to the mind, that's when we're really going to be coming from a place of like, oh, actually, this feels right. You know, and I've experienced that same thing as you. When I meet somebody and there's just this pull, like I just know like there's something I need to explore here. Yeah. You know, whether it's like romantic or friendship or business or whatever, there's just like an interest, like, oh, okay, there's like a pull here. I don't even need to explain it. I can just feel this like magnetism where it's almost like we're supposed to meet and we're supposed to exchange something energetically. Like, who knows, right? You know, sometimes you might think to yourself, what do I want to do with my life? What career do I want to follow? What projects do I want to follow? What do I want to do with my time? What hobbies do I want? There's like this pull and it's in your body. It's like in your gut. You feel this like, or and it's really that simple.
Yeah.
Like it's really just like a
Really
yeah, you want to do this. And a lot of the time I think we've been taught to not trust that intuition, because we always need to have like a logical reason for why we're doing everything. Now I think logic has a great place in understanding and making sense of the things that we're doing, remembering stuff, interacting, communicating. There's so much benefit to it. But I don't think that logic should be the thing that we rely on when it comes to making big decisions in our life about who we spend our time with, who we fall in love with, the projects that we work on. It's a feeling, you know? There's just a feeling. And so many of us are just like logically saying, okay, I need to feel secure. So I need to make money. So I need to do a job that's going to make me money. So I need to go to university and get this job. Okay, so I need to get really good grades. And now with those good grades, I can get a good job. And then with that good job, now I can make good money so I can feel secure. Boom. And people follow that path of logic, taking them through their entire life. And then they get to the end of their life and they're like, fuck, I have loads of money. I have the job I always wanted. I have an amazing degree with great achievements. And I feel fucking miserable. And I still don't feel secure. I never feel secure. And it's because they didn't follow their intuition. Maybe if they followed their intuition, their body would have said, go and be a dancer, you know? Follow your passion. You love dancing. Go and dance. And just follow that. And then you just meet someone. You're like, yeah, I'm just going to meet this person. I'm going to follow my body. And then that person ends up giving you like a huge opportunity to dance in Broadway or something. And yeah, maybe you're actually going to get the sense of security, not because you have money and because you have material success, but because you know in yourself, deep in yourself, that you can always create a beautiful life. Regardless of what happens, regardless of how much money you have or how much material wealth you have, you know in yourself, I can create a beautiful life. That gives me the ultimate security, knowing that no matter what happens, I got my back. As long as I keep trusting my intuition and I follow my intuition moment to moment, I trust that my intuition, which is connection to God, your intuition is your connection to your higher self, is going to lead me down the path of the highest good, of love, right?
Like Steve Jobs says in his commencement speech, you can only connect the dots looking backwards sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't really make sense why things are flowing the way they are. But it does you know, this whole idea of, you know, Olivia, does it have to make sense?
No, it doesn't have to make sense.
Does it have to appeal to our rational ego?
Nope.
No. And that's actually making it more fun. Because if everything just made sense, everything is just very like one-dimensional and I don't know, sharp ends everywhere. Life is just like this abstract art. You know, it's just like everything just happening. There's no need for it to appeal to your ego. There's no logical basis. And it's something I wanted to talk to you about is this idea that, you know, we look at something or somebody and we have one perspective of it. But we sometimes forget that that's just one perspective and how life is infinitely dimensional and how any particular thing that happens changes everything else. So it's like you can see how this is how unfolding, this is probably not right, they could do this better. But if we look at the biggest picture, we have to also acknowledge the paradoxical truth that those people that are unconscious are actually exactly where they need to be.
Yep, exactly. Instead of having to change it. And this is a big thing with the spiritual community.
Yeah.
There becomes this, again, spirituality, which is meant to be seeing wholeness and divinity and everything, like seeing that we're all one, suddenly starts to say, I'm spiritual and you're not spiritual. So once again, we have separation, where if somebody doesn't believe in the spiritual ideas, they're suddenly less than because they're not conscious. But we're all pieces of the puzzle. We're all playing a role that we're meant to play in this life.
Yes.
Every single person.
Yes.
There are many people in this life that right now, they're not supposed to be into the spiritual stuff.
Nope.
They're supposed to be playing a role that helps other people learn something.
Right.
You know, some of us have this like transpersonal karma where our purpose here is to do good things or bad things that's going to inspire change and inspire other people to wake up.
Yeah.
Like, sorry.
Yeah. I have this story to share that my guru actually told me. He said that in Buddhism, there are these beings called the bodhisattvas who are essentially like one step below the Buddha in terms of their level of enlightenment. So they're pretty much there. They can choose to not reincarnate anymore. And they voluntarily choose to take this vow of the bodhisattva, which essentially means that you keep coming back forever.
Wow.
Yeah, you come back forever. You reincarnate forever and ever. And why? So that you can take on collective karma. So you can start clearing the karma and the distortion field of this universe at this point. And what happens sometimes is they take on so much collective karma that they incarnate in very lower planes of reality. I'm not going to use the word hell, but that's the word my guru used, essentially where you're clearing very, very high amounts of karma really quickly. So now you look at this bodhisattva on the street. he would probably look like a guy who's just very, very ordinary, right? And you go out there and be like, you're not on the spiritual path. Did you see the bigger picture of who this soul is, why he's here, why he's acting unconsciously, which karma is dictating him acting in that way and speaking that way? So we have our little perceptions sometimes that we feel like we know what's going on. Perhaps it's not our role or any futility to know what's going on.
Yeah, I agree.
Perhaps just to observe and witness and let it happen.
Just let it be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us get caught in this like hero paradigm, right?
Yeah, I was like, big in that.
Me too, yeah, me too. Especially like when I was really learning about the damage that we're creating to our environment and how we're impacting our planet in such a negative way. I really got into this like hero paradigm of like, fuck, I need to save everything, which is what we get taught from our programming, from movies and stuff. Like there's one who's going to save the world from everyone else.
My dear, this happens in relationships, romantic relationships.
It happens
too.
all the time. Yeah. It happens in relationships. It happens with the greater world. It happens with business. It happens everywhere. We get into this like hero paradigm.
Yeah.
And we see everything that's wrong from our perspective and we say, I need to make everyone see the same thing as me so they can change everything they're doing. But we don't look at the bigger picture. You know, like I'm just going to use climate change and the impacts around climate change as an example, because that is one of my causes. It's very common that people who are in like my position, who can see the damage that's being created by like our farming systems, for example, and they say, do you know what, these farmers, they're evil. They're bad people because of the fucked up shit they do to animals, the way they're destroying the environment, they're destroying like fertile lands and replacing it with crops and stuff. And I'm like, yes, what they're doing is maybe not aligned morally with what is right. It's not loving. It's not coming from a place of consciousness. But they are also people who are just living their life the best way they know how. They are also people who have just been born into a place where they were told, this is the way you survive. This is what our family's done for generations. You're feeding people. You're doing good stuff. That's what they got told. So from their perspective, from the other side of the story, they feel that what they're doing is good. And they don't see your side of the story. But you're only looking at it from your side. You're not being diplomatic. You're only being like one-sided. And then you're hating on this person and creating otherness. But the truth is, the only way that anything is going to shift in this particular example of like farming and agriculture creating environmental destruction is if we actually say, I understand you. I know your needs. I understand that you just need to survive. You need security. You've been told your whole life that this is the right thing. I understand that you're just doing your best with the cards that you were born with, right? You're playing your cards the best way you know how. You're using the education and the knowledge that you have to create the life that you're creating. And I'm also doing the same from my perspective. So how can we come together and start to see each other's perspectives? How can we come together as a team and recognize that we're both people who are playing a role in this dynamic? And how can we find a way that's like changing it completely away from what I think and away from what you think, but finding a new path as a team, as a whole, as a one, two sides of the same coin, right? How can we do that? And this is where we actually start to make change. And this change isn't coming from like superiority of one person seeing what's better and the other person seeing something that's worse. It's about recognizing that like everything's there to create balance. And although I personally believe that this, for example, that the action itself is wrong, I don't believe that the person is wrong. I don't believe that the person is evil. I believe that there's just like a misalignment and a distortion. And it's not my job to fix them. It's not my job to change them. It's my job to love and accept them and to share a perspective. But then they have to make their own choice to change if they want to change, if it aligns with them, if it calls to them energetically, right? And it's not my job to save the world. It's my job to make choices from my life, in my perspective, that aligns with my values, to plant seeds and allow other people to let them grow if they want to.
That's it.
And I might plant seeds of love and information and sharing with so many people that they just say, I don't want to even water that seed. I don't even want to see what that plant looks like if I water it. And they just don't even listen. The information goes in and out their ears and they live the rest of their life the same way they did before. Cool. All I've done is share my seed.
That's beautiful.
That's what you can do, right?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's not my job to water the whole fucking garden.
No.
It's if I give you a seed, if I say, here's a perspective I have on something. What's yours? Give me your seed as well. We can then go away after that from that interaction and we can decide, do I want to plant this? Do I want to see where this is going to take me or not? You might say, I'm not interested in this food, and chuck it out. That's our choice. We have free will for a reason, right? So all we can do is act. Karma yoga.
Yes.
Action. Yes. Acting moment to moment from a place of authenticity, right? Yeah, it's very powerful. And it starts to alleviate the distortion a little bit. Diplomacy is such an important aspect of finding clarity, I believe. Like being able to see everything from two sides, being able to recognize, okay, I have an opinion that's very strong, but have I thought about the other side? Have I thought about the other opinion? Have I thought about this person I might say is evil? Have I thought about their life and what made them the way that they are right now?
That's the thing.
And most of the time the answer is no.
Yeah.
Most of the time is I'm looking at them from my perspective and my life and my knowledge, and I'm making a judgment on their result of an entire lifetime of complete different experiences, and saying that's wrong, that's right, you know?
You see, if there is a sense of things being wrong, you know, and people being wrong and evil, there's clearly a distortion in consciousness.
I agree.
Yeah. And the other side of it that I was trying to do as well is also a kind of distortion where I would feel like someone's wrong, someone's evil, and then I would like purposely mind talk myself out of it. It's like, no, they're a divine being, they're God. You know, I really
bypassing.
Bypassing. That's that's bypassing, right? And then there's this side of complete unconsciousness, and then there's the other side of bypassing. How about taking the middle road and just like getting to like pause and be like, perhaps life is not inviting me to create a strong opinion right now. Perhaps life is just inviting me to see certain things. Just be. Just witness, just perceive, and see this person in front of me, if we're talking about a person, in their whole capacity. Not in the way that I want to see her, not in the way that she benefits me in my agenda, just seeing her and witnessing her and being for her. And what happens in that process, which I've really been realizing, is that a lot of people don't necessarily want to get advice. A lot of people don't necessarily want that hard change. Not everybody wants me to be their coach or their mentor.
Some people just want you to accept them and see
accept them and love them and see them.
Yeah.
And my guru recently gave me this gem. It's like, perhaps, Rahul, your approach of how you're taking, because I was very in my Shiva and my masculine. It's like, I need to break your fucking illusions out. Right? If you are thinking something that's victim mentality, I'm gonna be like, how could you think that way? That kind of, you know, that whole, you know, beating it out of a person. And it didn't work. And my guru was like, are you really about the results here, or are you about just trying to do it your way? I said, I want people to actually wake up. And they're like, perhaps your approach is by hardening, beating them. Maybe you should soften them. Maybe soften them through love. Consider that.
So true.
Right?
So true.
And I've been doing that recently, and my heart has been recently opening a lot, and it's been effortlessly just softening and like just seeing people. Just like letting them play out their little patterns, their little ego games, and not trying to play with them, but simply being a loving witness.
And this is the thing. I actually feel like the most powerful thing that we can do is leading by example. Just living life in alignment with yourself, and when you are invited to share, then you share. And I think that's a big thing. And I think the invitation to share can come in many different forms. I think sometimes it's someone flat out asking you, what do you think I should do about this? Sometimes it's like somebody comes to you in need and like they're expressing something to you. You can really feel from them energetically that they're looking for guidance. And you give it. Sometimes they just start asking your opinion about stuff. Or they ask you about your life, and you have then an opportunity to share. Sometimes you're just doing it. You're just doing the thing. It just happens
very automatically.
You're just doing the thing, and people are watching you, and you're like, oh, I can see from the way you are that you lead from your heart. I can see the way from the way that you are, that you do X, Y, and Z, and that you live by these principles. You don't even need to tell me. I think you kind of have to just like, soften with your heart. Give people like, you know, this is something I say all the time. Like when I meet people who I get a bit of a sense of like, how do I explain it? Like a tension from them, like an intimidation. Like I'm a very confident person. So when I come to a group of new people, like I'm just going to get over any remnants of social anxiety that I might still have in the back of my mind. I'm just going to go give everyone a hug and introduce myself. And so some people, sometimes they find that kind of like, why are you coming over and being so confident or so like forthcoming? I don't know you. And it makes them feel a bit uncomfortable because they don't know how to take it, right? And when I feel this sense of like tension from someone, instead of being like, you know, trying to force myself on them and really like show them, no, I'm a good person. Don't worry. You don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to hurt you or anything like that. I just like will lead from a place of love and just soften them with kindness by giving them love, giving them attention, asking them questions about themselves and showing them that I have a real interest in getting to know who they are. And like killing them with kindness is such a powerful thing. Because they actually just start to say, oh, okay, it's cool. She doesn't mean any harm. She doesn't mean to...
You do realize the thing that you just described is gem, like gold stuff, because this thing that people go into, this wall that they put on, is not something they're choosing to put on.
It's subconscious.
It's very, 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 very subconscious. It's like they don't even, it's a very immediate thing that happens, and they don't even realize like, damn, I had this wall and I wasn't breathing well when she came up to me to hug me. It's like, why? This nice looking person, sweethearted, but I felt like it's an attack coming towards me, and I need to defend myself against something. And people actually walk through life, through situations, through events, through everything like they're being attacked all the time, all the time. And for me, this might get a little esoteric and deep, but I do want to share.
We like it.
Okay. I feel like, what I've realized in these last few months, working with my teacher and everything, is that the divine feminine on the highest level is existence and manifestation. And the divine masculine in the highest level is consciousness, right? So there's that consciousness, the Shiva, and the Shakti, which is the whole manifestation, whether it be everything.
The creation.
The whole creation, essentially. Now, what we are here to do, if you understand the story of Shiva and his wife Parvati, like all he did was be in deep meditation and saw her with his third eye and just witnessed her as she danced, as she created worlds and destroyed it right in front of his eyes. And he never tried to change her. He never tried to control her, manipulate her. And perhaps we're here to simply be a witness. That doesn't mean we go into a zone of not doing anything. We're more of a witness to the act that's unfolding through our body.
Yep.
And we do not try to change the manifestation, because Shakti turns into Kali when we start to control and try to fear and try to judge and try to like hold on to things too much. Because you're here to get broken, but not broken down, broken through.
Yeah.
You're here to get broken through, essentially. And if you're like being really hardened, then it's gonna just crack like a glass one day. You know?
But also from that destruction, from being broken, is often where we grow something anew, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think we can even see this in nature so many times. If we look at this planet alone, look at how many times we've experienced like mass extinctions, moments of destruction. I mean, this entire planet was formed through destruction. Of like comets hitting it and colliding with other celestial bodies, and just like lava and chaos. And then from that destruction, from that disorder comes order. And you always have this interplay of order, disorder, order, disorder. Something falls out of balance and it rebalances. You can see this in nature all the time. If a species becomes overpopulated and it starts to damage the balance of the greater ecosystem, nature creates an evolution, and then another species balances it back out. And then that species levels out as well. And it's just this constant balancing and unbalancing. And I think balance is something that we always talk about as like a thing that we want to have. But actually, I believe balancing is always going to be a doing word, because you never have balance. You're always tilting one way, okay, adjusting and tilting back, and then tilting back. And then tilting back. And it's like that, the whole ecosystem of our human experience within ourselves and in a macrocosm of the collective and in the world and in the universe. It's this constant balancing, and it's just about like being okay with the fact that you're going to be balancing and coming back and forth through chaos and order, and just being cool with the fact that those waves are going to come and go, and it's just a part of life. And this also goes back to what we were saying earlier about adopting this like hero mentality with the way that we see other people in the world when we're like trying to make otherness and separation. I really like the Chinese proverb. I think it was from the I Ching, where he has this poem that's like, fear not that there's something wrong or something right, because I am the child who gets burned by a city that's been hit by napalm, and I am the man who dropped the napalm. I am the girl who's crying after being raped, and I am the man who raped her. I am the child who's bullied at school, and I am the children who bullied him. I am all, I am everything. It's all me. So when you're seeing these people that are doing things that you think are hurting you and destroying you, destroying the planet, destroying everything, recognizing that like they are you and you are them. We're all, it's finding that balance, again, the balancing between empathy and heart-opened like compassion towards the things that are wrong and the things that you feel are not in alignment, the things that you want to shift in yourself, but also having a peace and understanding that everything is the exact way it's supposed to be right now. And every destructive act, every kind act, they are all balancing constantly in the greater whole, a picture that we cannot see. There's a picture that we will never understand as a human being.
Never.
And it's okay. And I was talking to my friend about this as well, because he has so much angst about the pain of the world and how fucked up everything is, and how there's all these politicians and companies just destroying everything, and it makes him so angry. And he just wants to destroy it all. He just wants to burn it all to the ground and start from the beginning. And I just say to him, like, there's no point, because everything in the bigger picture, well beyond our lifetimes, beyond a million lifetimes that we will never see. There's always this balancing to, like this Satya Yuga.
Yes.
This Satya of like pure oneness and conscious collective in our collective human experience, the collective global experience. But then to the Kali Yuga, which is this unconscious, collective unconscious, it's always going to have this like flow and this ebb, this breathing in and out of awareness.
Vibration.
Yeah, it's a vibration, and it's like a thousands of year long breath. And as that breath reaches its peak and we reach the Satya Yuga, which is, for those of you who don't know, in the Yuga calendar, it's a state where like the collective consciousness of the majority of people is like able to witness and like experience like divine oneness with each other. That's like the end of the breath. And then it breathes back out. And then you get into this other, which is called Kali Yuga, the opposite end of the spectrum, which is when everyone's quite unconscious and separated, and there's distortion and destruction and chaos and mayhem. And it's just constantly going order, chaos, oneness, distortion. So we have to just be making peace with the fact that there's this bigger picture playing out that we can't see. And it's okay.
Now, that's beautifully said.
Thank you.
There were moments during that, listening to that, or I was just kind of like having spiritual crown chakra gasms, I call them. Crown gasms.
Crown gasms.
Yeah. But I will say, because it really feels an integrity for me to share this, there is one place beyond this, which is essentially where it's non-dual, completely in nature, where existence and you and things playing out are always they're in a dance, but it's completely still, where the existence is just completely and when you look at it all as one whole, and you don't look at all the stuff inside it for one moment, just look at it all as one whole, then nothing is really changing. Then it's always in complete eternal stillness. So when I enter a place of total presence, there's this part of me that first feels as resistance. Then I let go of it. Then I soften and go deeper and deeper into it. And then there's a point where there's no reference frame anymore. Meaning like I don't really have me being present. It just kind of like dissolves and dissolves. And it starts to get like expansive and more expansive to a point where ideas and mental concepts are no longer existing. And there's this total tranquility of isness. Of this awareness that's been there forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever throughout the Kali Yuga, Satya Yuga, Kali Yuga, Satya Yuga.
And there's no sense of time whatsoever.
Never, no sense of time, no sense of change. It's just complete isness, always. And for me, resting in that place while still enjoying the dance of Maya has been the greatest recipe for me. And I'm still evolving. And there's a deepening in this. You see, all the stuff that I mentioned, presence, this and that, healing, all of this, you realize you really don't have to do much. You can just relax.
It just happens. Relax and receive.
It happens.
Life is happening for you.
Exactly. Exactly. No one's your enemy. I've recently been, my heart, like I told you, has been opening recently, and I look at every being as a reincarnation of God, as an incarnation of God. Like people who previously I would look at them and be like, I don't want this in me, I don't want that kind of behavior in me. I look at all of it as so much beauty. It's like God showing me, hey, can you love this, Rahul? Can you love this person?
Yes.
Can you love this event? How about this event? How about all this thing that you just worked on and then it completely, like it didn't save or something? Are you able to love that?
And it's a constant challenge, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's a constant challenge of like fighting your ego's desire to like only invite things that are comfortable and reject things that are not comfortable. And obviously, I still think that like this state of like being able to actually fully open and love to all of that stuff, it's such a goal that you want to be working towards. It's such a desired like sattvic kind of state where you really want to be like able to, without any resistance, have open love and acceptance for everyone.
Yes.
And I think there's this constant moving towards that opening, like an opening of the aperture where you see yourself more and more in others. And even in moments where there's somebody who's being very difficult and challenging, and you can still say, I understand why you are the way you are. And I see you. I can accept you and I love you. Even in this moment that you're being difficult and challenging, because I see that you are just me in another form, right? Like being able to feel that. And I think that really leads on nicely to this idea of love being an infinite resource. And, you know, I think, again, as we're brought up, as we're conditioned by society, we're really taught to believe and feel that, like, Love is a conditional, limited source that we can only give to people who have earned a place with that love. And yeah, I think it really totes towards this idea that, like, you know, in society we are told that it's conditional. And as we go through this journey of growth and love, of acceptance of ourselves, that's when we start to actually realize, no, love is unconditional. Really, if you open yourself to it, every single time you peel back a layer in yourself of not accepting yourself and the story and the bullshit that you tell yourself that makes you not worthy of love, every time you peel back a layer in yourself, you also peel off a layer on the outside as well, on the reflection of everything around you. You're like, oh. And the more that you can feel into this like infinite love within yourself, the more you can accept others outside of yourself. And it's fucking powerful, right? But it's not limited. It's unlimited.
It is unlimited.
You can have love for everything and everyone.
Yeah. And never be drained and never feel drained.
Yeah.
Because this idea of feeling drained comes from this idea of lack. It's like you're drained and then there's not enough supply that comes to replace it. There's always infinite supply. But you see, the love that you're describing is very much to do with the space of the heart, right?
Yes.
The love that most people are assuming is this kind of filling a void kind of love. It's like, I need your validation, your touch, your love and everything so that I feel less empty inside, you know? And that's personal love.
Yes.
And that's codependent love.
It is, yeah.
Right? And this is the love
Validation
that yes, exactly. That always has these ups and downs and moments where it's not present and all these things, because it's not really it's coming
not really love.
It's anything that has a stem from this incompleteness, void, distortion, always bears fruits and plants and flowers that are spoiled in nature.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But when the soil is coming from source and the water, everything is taken care of and it's all coming in divine alignment, my God, there are no rules to this existence. You can just love.
No rules.
You can just love, and that was what I spoke to her about on our first.
You spoke to me about.
Yeah. About on our first ever meeting, which I would love for us to discuss. Is you know, like this idea of the relationships needing to look a certain way, right? When you just completely activated and initiated me and showed me that there's other possibility of total free exploration from a place of dignity when it comes to love,
romantic love particularly, right?
So you could talk more about that. That'd be really, really beneficial to kind of go over again.
In our first conversation, I don't even know how we got onto this topic.
Yeah.
I can't even remember, but it just kind of came up. But we just got into the topic that love is an infinite resource.
Yeah.
We have this like ability to love many people. And, you know, even just looking through your own life, you've loved more than one person in your life.
Yeah.
So you're already showing yourself that you're capable of loving romantically more than one person. Yeah. But we get taught from our conditioning once again that all of our needs, all of our self needs to be validated from the external. And so we need like to find this one person who's going to make us feel like we are their one person and that we are validated, that we're worthy of love and that we're good enough for them to see us and accept us for who we are. We need this person to give us that. And if that person has love for anyone else, somehow we're less than, because the amount of love that they can give is limited. So if they're giving it to more than one person, it means that I get less. It means that I'm worthy of less and I'm less important. But it's not true. It's not true. Every single time I meet somebody new in my life that I really connect with deeply, it doesn't automatically nullify all of the love that I can give to my other people in my life who are important to me. So why does this logic apply to friendship, where it's, you know, there's no sexual element, but then when it comes to romantic love, suddenly it breaks down. Suddenly romantic love is limited, but friendship love is unlimited. Family love is unlimited. If I have 40 cousins, I can love all of my cousins. And I can love my brother and my sister and my mom and my dad. But then when it's romantic, I can only love one.
You see, my dear, I'll tell you exactly why I feel like it is the way it is when it comes to romantic relationships. For a lot of people entering romantic relationships around the world, they have had mommy or daddy issues. Yeah. Right? And they really are looking for their partner to play that role of a maternal or whatever the father side is, paternal?
Paternal.
Yeah. Figure in their life, in order to like fill in that void of receiving that safety or that motherly mothering energy. Codependency is what I'm describing here, right? And we realize almost on a social etiquette front that we can never rely on anyone on a friend level to be that. And some people end up doing that and becoming very burdensome on their friends. But we're like, oh, now you're my girlfriend. Okay, that you're mine now. Okay, now every time I feel low, you're here for me. So I don't have to feel low. Every time I need that validation, you're here for me. So it's like you are essentially seeing me that I don't want to see myself. You're essentially feeding me all the parts of my ego that I'm almost weak to feed myself. And this person becomes a means to an end rather than love, which is presence.
But it's still conditional.
It's conditional.
True love is unconditional. But a lot of the time, in romantic relationships, like you said, our parental wounds play out. Our parental traumas, our mother wounds, our father wounds. We'll look for someone that perfectly mirrors those wounds and fulfills things that we felt like our parents couldn't give us. But the funny thing is, as time goes on, when you first begin a relationship, you're very present. You're very much the real you, the present you who's making conscious choices moment to moment of how you want to act, how you want to show love, how you want to show appreciation. But then over time, you become comfortable with someone. You get to know them on a deep level, and you feel more comfortable to show them the real you. And that's when the subconscious programs start coming up. The subconscious programs of how your parents may have abandoned you, they may have neglected you, they may not have shown you love, they may have rejected sides of yourself, and you may have rejected things in them as a response to that. And then your partner starts to show, and you start to show, these subconscious programs from your parents and the way that they taught you to be or not to be, the anger that you might feel, the resentment, the fear, the anxiety, the detachment. And then you start to actually see this person's other sides, and then you reject them. And then you start to argue, you start to fight, you start to control, and over time the relationship inevitably breaks down because these trauma wounds start playing out. And a lot of the time, without even realizing, subconsciously, we're picking people who are a mirror of the wounds that we got from our parents. And you see this all the time. It's a common expression that you're going to marry someone who's just like your dad or just like your mom. Because you're looking for people who have like a avoidant or anxious attachment style without even realizing. And it's like the perfect storm for you to actually start showing these traumas over time. But really, when we can be coming from a place of loving someone fully for their authentic expression, seeing them for who they really are and seeing ourselves for who we really are, and truly loving them unconditionally, you're able to say, okay, I have these traumas, you have these traumas, but let's love in each other and accept each other fully and work through it as a team. Allow ourselves to embody these things and work through them and see that that doesn't make us ugly. The things that we hid away from our parents, they don't make us ugly, they don't make us unwanted. They're just part of our human experience that makes us who we are today. And we can make space for them and embrace them and allow them to naturally take their course and accept them. And that's what real love is about. And it's the kind of love that a lot of people don't really allow themselves to experience.
Really, we have to come down to, are we here to play these little me games for the rest of our life? Or are we here to really step into our vast expansiveness? It's like really understanding, is there lust involved?
But that's ego.
Right, that's ego. If that's ego, then no, okay, really being mindful of that. Then, if I actually like this person, is this liking coming from more of an AI mode? Is like I'm seeing my mom or my dad in them? Okay, relax. Come back into presence. Then if there's no sense of you looking at someone and being like, that person is going to give me a spike in my life. Because no one's going to give you that spike. It's just
an energetic exchange, right?
It's just an energetic exchange. And when there's this feeling, like this addiction that I've felt to many, many different things, if there's like a strong pulling and there's not that peace and tranquility in me that accompanies that, usually there's something that I'm trying to run away from. It's a trauma response, essentially. Like my body and my nervous system feels dysregulated and activated, and I'm not really feeling relaxed and grounded. Just because I feel excited about someone or something, that doesn't mean that that person is for me. This is a very, very destructive, wrong thing that's mentioned in the spiritual community. So if it excites you, that means you should go for it. So many things can excite me.
It's like a passing emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
Things can excite you.
Yeah.
Like I got excited for this podcast, but not in the sense where this podcast will complete me or meeting her will make me feel better about myself. It's like, I just am living.
Instead, you just start to say, this person's beautiful. And the more that I peel back the layers of this person and they show me their depth, their thoughts, their experiences, their passions, just their energetic way that they are. And the more that I can just see appreciation from that person, the more that I actually have appreciation for everyone else. Because again, I'm learning to just see authentically. And I think real love real love of any kind for any kind of person, romantic or otherwise, it's about being able to like fully see that person in their fullest authentic expression, whether that's positive or negative in the moment, and just to accept them and see them anyway. Not wanting them to be a certain way to validate your ego, not wanting them to say certain things to make you feel good enough or whatever, but it's just seeing and accepting this moment. Like, this is who you are and I love and accept you.
Yeah.
And sometimes that elicits a romantic feeling of like, I have this like deeper romantic connection with you, where there's this like sexual chemistry of like connecting energetically on like a sexual level.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just, I see you and appreciate you as a person. I just want to embrace you and hug you and love you as a friend. There's like these different ways that love manifests, but I think the only way that you can really experience love in the many forms that it comes is if you learn to love without attachment, and you need to let go of the attachment and just love for love's sake.
Yes.
Love for love's sake in the moment.
Yeah, you know, all of this becomes a lot easier when you have an open heart space. You're not doing the love anymore. You're just loving because you are love.
Yeah.
You're just like always emanating this light out of you because like the light bulb isn't designed to shine on you particularly today. It just shines on everything, right?
Yes.
That part is just one part of it. Then there's another part of it is to really be present with what's unfolding. If you're identified with this attachment or whatever, when you hear this, there's something that completely rejects it into your system. And then you ask that question to yourself. It's like, why am I rejecting it? There is the part of you that wants to protect your world that will immediately come through and just say, this is the reason why. But then creating a deeper pause there. Really doing that work where it feels uncomfortable in your body sometimes to just see it. But then you see it. And you start to notice, oh, wow.
When you feel that resistance, that instant rejection, that instant resistance, it's because there's something inside you that doesn't want to face a truth that you're being shown. There's something inside you that's scared of that truth, because that truth, you're afraid, is going to hurt your sense of ego. It's going to take you to a place of trauma. It's going to open up wounds that you're trying to hide away from. And that fear is like, oh my God, I need to resist this. I don't want to acknowledge this could be true. And I've spoken to so many people about this very topic, as well as like veganism, for example, traveling, like all of these things. And there's so much instant resistance, but why would you do that?
Right.
And it's because you've been conditioned your whole life to feel like there's a certain path that you're following, a certain belief system and a structure and identity that you live with. And that identity keeps you safe. And that resistance is challenging the identity. It's challenging the ego. It's challenging the thing that you are attached to as a place of safety. So I think it's important, for me anyway, to always question, you know, like there's so many things that I live my life by now, so many ways that I live my life that if you asked me 10 years ago, I was the complete polar opposite. And I had so much resistance to any of these ideas, the ideas of veganism, the ideas of not drinking alcohol. Like there's so many things that I'm a complete polar opposite of now that I had so much resistance to. Like, and I explore that resistance within myself. And this is something I notice, like when I have resistance, boom, resistance. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear your point of view. I hate everything you're saying. I disagree with you. Me against you. As soon as I feel that, I have to stop and ask myself, why? Why am I so afraid of hearing a different side? Because I believe if you are truly, truly diplomatic and truly balanced and you truly want clarity, you have to hear both sides and then make your mind up. From a place of equanimity, you have to see for your argument and against your argument. This is how I convinced myself to become vegan.
That's a great way to look at it.
Because I was so resistant. I had so many friends that were vegan. My brother was pescatarian or vegetarian. And I had so much resistance to it. I was like, no, fuck these guys. They're wrong. They're wrong. I want to eat meat. I want to eat fish. I want to eat cheese. There's nothing wrong with this system. I like it, you know? I don't want to change. Change is like, and I had to give so much resistance. I'd make jokes about vegans. I'd make jokes about people who wanted to live their life that way. But then I just reached a point one day where I was like, I actually keep having these debates with people. I keep having these debates with people about this topic, but I've never actually tried to listen really from an open-hearted place to their point of view. And I've never actually researched anything against my point of view. So I decided to sit down and listen to podcasts, to look at research papers, to go online, to watch documentaries, to try and find everything I could find against my point of view.
Yes.
So then I could decide after that, okay, if I've seen both sides, if I still think what I originally thought was correct, cool. But if I see both sides and I get to the end of it and I'm like, actually, do you know what? I've now seen so much evidence that changed my mind. Then it starts to make me realize I had a lot of cognitive dissonance around this topic. And it's okay. It's okay to feel that way. But also to recognize the fact that you have that resistance, oftentimes it's pointing towards something within yourself that you're afraid of facing. Something within yourself that you don't want to acknowledge as a possibility. A side to the argument, another side to the coin that you're afraid of allowing yourself to see. And when you do kind of just open yourself to recognizing that, super powerful.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where the feminine comes in.
Yeah.
It's about having that empathy and that vulnerability to like nurture someone through a difficult experience by helping them to feel seen and like enveloped by that love, you know?
Right. That's a great point. But the point I'm also trying to make is a lot of that, what you just described, what you just did, was not something that you were doing.
Yeah,
It's
that's
your,
true.
It's your being.
Yeah.
It's your being.
That's
So
true.
the presence speaks more than the words of comfort, and the field that you emanate does more than the actions.
Yeah, that's very
So
true.
a lot of beings
in the aura.
cross a certain point where they create Buddha fields, right? And essentially they're doing a lot just by being there in a certain place, by being present. That's all they have to do. They don't have to lift a finger. All the energetic currents and the waves are unfolding as they must through the center of their heart, right? So yeah, you're effortlessly healing people. You're effortlessly activating people. You're effortlessly grounding people, not through that sense of volition. And that's the place where I'm at right now as well. I'm noticing a lot of my coaching sessions, mentorship sessions are more so exchanging presence rather than words. Silence is such a gift when really explored with an open heart.
Yeah,
you know?
it's true. It's true.
It's like, yeah.
I think just allowing people to really feel that you're seeing them.
Yes. And how do you see someone? When you're really...
Through your heart, always.
Through presence,
Yeah.
right? When you're present with someone, you're only seeing them. You're not trying to constantly look for myself in you. I'm not trying to constantly look for, yeah, this reminds me of me. Everybody's kind of looking for themselves when they're meeting someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be fully present is for you to have seen yourself in great capacity, in your own solitude, or through life showing you. And now you're able to come to a point where you're able to be just present with someone. I'm not trying to change you.
Exactly.
I don't want you to be any different way. I love that you're feeling tight in your body. Feel it.
Yeah,
I love that you're feeling rejected towards what I'm saying right now. I love it. I
Just
love
feel it, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And the more you're just loving them, the parts of them that are in defense mode and want to attack you, you're like, oh shit, I'm not being attacked right now. I can let go. And then this transformation starts to happen in them where they're starting to now self-reflect. Instead of you needing to do it for them, they're seeing, oh shit, perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. All of the most powerful changes that we make within ourselves, within our inner sphere, it has to come from us as well.
Exactly.
You know, and this is something that I got over a while ago. It's like trying to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a podcast now, so all we're doing is talking. But I mean, like when you're just interacting with someone, trying to talk and try and convince someone to see your point of view, you know, and like force them by like lecturing them on the entire reason that everything you think is true.
Yeah.
Instead of that, just like be
Yeah.
and communicate with them and see them. And when you can do that, like people will open something in themselves. And if they feel a curiosity to explore further, they will.
They will.
And if they don't feel a curiosity to explore further, they won't.
They won't.
And that's okay. And you love them either way. There's people I've had conversations with so many things about that I'm passionate about, and they've never done a single thing about it, and I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They're just expressing themselves authentically. They're exploring who they are. I have to love and accept them for who they are instead of like trying to only love them if they fit my idea of who they should be.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of wrap up the podcast soon because we've been going for probably a bit longer than my initially scheduled, because it's easy to just get lost in the conversation with you. But I always like to finish the podcast by asking two questions. The first is, for you, what does it mean to be truly fulfilled, confident within yourself, courageous? What do these things mean for you as an individual in your life?
To be fully fulfilled, confident, and courageous in myself. All of this point back to clarity. When I have clarity of my true nature that goes well past my body, that has an eternal time span, and understands that I have a major role to play here in a multidimensional facet, then I'm not very limited in my being when it comes to how I view myself. So when I start seeing the bigger picture and zoom out of that little biased hole I was stuck on, then I'm able to see with more clarity. There's a relaxation in my body. Things start coming to me on how to deal with every situation in a better way. Courage starts to come through. There's this willingness to open and receive life with an open heart. There's not this denial. And you start more and more stepping out of that place of cloudiness and that haziness that even me, time to time, once in a while, I go into. And you start realizing how almost insane it was to be in that place.
Yep.
Right? So this is now becoming more and more of a lived experience because of various different tools that I use, like meditation, like receiving transmissions from my teacher, and many different ways to be able to stably live in this place where there's a constant seeing. Because let me tell you, if you're seeing God, if you're seeing your true self, you don't have to tell yourself anything. There's no mindset shift that are required at this point, because you're perceiving things. Like, I don't need mindset shift to move around this couch when I get out after this podcast, because I'm seeing the couch. I know how to walk around it. It's very clear, right?
Yeah.
So this courage and confidence are kind of tied in. It just comes through. I don't pep talk myself ever. I've noticed that. I used to do that a lot. Or
when you were in that state of
when
like
I was in that
depression
state,
and
yeah,
stuff.
I needed the song. I needed like a little bit of like a motivational talk. Now what I do is I'm like, life is clearly showing me something here that I need to see, that I'm not seeing. And it's in life's best interest, thanks to the grace of God, to get me into this place of seeing.
Yep.
And every time I've seen something, a part of me felt like my world's gonna end. Really. Every single time I would see something that I don't want to see, it's a big red flag that my ego's saying, you're about to destroy yourself right now. This is going to fuck you up.
And the ego tries to grasp. Anytime it feels itself dissolving in some way, it tries to grasp.
Tries to grasp.
And it brings you to psychosis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've experienced those things. And we spoke about those things, which we won't get into today. Pretty crazy stuff, yeah. We both have been through the whole
deep depressions. We've both been in like the suicidal depression, hating life, lost in the victim mentality.
Yes.
And now we're in like the kind of opposite state where we're really like embracing the beingness of life more and more each day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And resting. And finally, my answer is resting in beingness. I can rest. You know, my dear, there are so many places we can ground ourselves through. I can take a substance and ground myself right now. I can ground myself by having sex with somebody. I can ground myself by pulling up my phone every 5 minutes and checking Instagram and seeing how many likes I got. All of these are kind of grounding.
Temporary groundings.
Yeah, something's itching you about the moment, itching you about life, and you just want to remove that itch, like, pull and text that person or get something done. You know, even work can be a sense of grounding. Getting stuff done all the time. Keep constantly needing to talk or work.
And do.
Now, what if those are all transitory in nature? Even a person's attention is transitory in nature, but something that's not transitory, something that's not coming and going, is the now. Is really here and now. I waited for it for almost 10 years, reading the Eckhart Tolle book almost in 2015 and be like, oh, that sounds good, but I can't do it. And I realized it's the easiest thing to do.
It's super
just
easy.
to drop it all. Drop all the concepts, drop all the notions, drop your identity, drop your stories, and just come and be. Just be. And there will be this part of you that's like, fuck, this is the stupidest idea. Go and do something, change the world, shift something, change, convince. Save everyone, you know? And I realized, no, man, like just totally embrace and be. Even in moments where I feel freezing cold, in ice baths, like coldest ice baths, or heat in Copenhagen, like sweating balls. I'm like, man, this is a taste of life I'm getting to relish right now. Let me really enjoy it. Let me fucking love it to every part of my being. When someone was cussing me out the other day, like for no reason, and I was just like sitting them and watching them with no kind of a sense of superiority. It's like, look at this person. I'm over them. I'm like looking at this being doing this energy dance in front of me. I'm like, do it. Keep doing it. Keep screaming. I really want to hear the scream and the might and everything and the juice of your existence. So yeah, all of this just comes through with consciousness, you know? And I will say that my struggle right now, because everybody has a certain something, like my guru calls it growing pains, is I'm entering more and more of a space now where talking is not interesting me much. I like to share presence with people. I did a satsang recently. We'll end off soon. Well, for those who don't know, a satsang is a place where you share presence with people and there's not much talking. People have a hard time connecting eyes with me. Like I'm seeing them so presently and they don't want to be seen in that way, and they keep looking here and
people
there.
get scared of the vulnerability. That's why people struggle with eye contact so much.
Right.
When you have engaging eye contact, people are like,
exactly.
okay, I'm gonna look away now. Okay, you're seeing into my soul. Stop it.
And I've noticed you've never done that.
Yeah.
So it's like it's literally a measure of you having seen yourself. That if I see something in you, you know, because I can look into your eyes and I can see your being, right? And there's no part of it's like, don't see it.
Yeah.
So you want me to see it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to be seen in that way. Now, the growing pain that I'm struggling with is that most people are still very mindy, and they want nice talk. or they just want to be ignored. But really being with someone in a present space for like 10 minutes, just looking at them in their eyes, in a place of sending loving energy. People's capacity to receive my greatest offering is still not developed yet. That's my growing pain right now. So what do I do? To get them to develop to that point, I need to give them this presence.
Yep.
It's like this, you need to get a job, okay, I need to experience, but then
You need
how
to
do I get a
teach
job?
people with your actions. That's the only thing. Like all we can do is lead by example, right?
I get it.
Yeah. And I think there's that growing pain, but I also think you're going through a transition right now, where you're kind of trying to move away from, like, I guess feeding the ego in some ways. You know, stepping away from the social media. You're going to India, you're going to have like this pilgrimage, this journey where you're just going to be like completely disconnected.
Yeah.
You know, you're like also, I feel like compared to when we met 2 months ago, I feel like you're really stepping out of this like desire to like be seen
Oh yeah.
by others in this way where it's only like a part of you. Like, you know, you're starting to acknowledge that, you know, we're all imperfect. You're acknowledging that there are darker sides that you've experienced, the depressions, the difficulties, the fear, the entities, like all of that stuff.
All of it.
And just like embracing the fact that you just accept yourself in that moment, but you're also not feeling as much of a need for the external to validate that it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's also an amazing growing pain. Like you're moving out of the Rajasic and
Yes.
into the sattvic.
I love it. You're amazing.
Like slowly moving out of that, you know, and it's something I notice a lot in people as well. As like a side note, I notice a lot of people, particularly like on this island, particularly in Bali, they'll do things that seem very sattvic, seem very kind and giving, nurturing people, looking after people, doing all this amazing stuff. But they're only doing it so they can tell everyone that they did it. Yeah. They're only doing it, I'm being good, I'm being kind, I'm helping people, I'm doing all these good deeds so I can be glorified as someone who does good deeds. Because I want to get an exchange. I'm helping you because I want something back from you. But I think it's so powerful. And again, I'm not saying I'm completely in this state. I don't think you are either.
No.
I think to be in this state is such a goal. To be able to just give love.
Yeah.
And to be kind, to see someone in need and to help them and not tell a single soul about it. To just be that pure, beautiful, divine, like loving, giving energy.
Yeah.
That is the most powerful thing. That's a goal of mine. To get to a place that I can do that, where I can do something good. And I feel like I have moments where I do good things and I don't tell a word of anyone about it. I do things where I be kind to people and I just do it just because it feels good in the moment and I'll move on and I feel like, wow, that was amazing. But I don't say it to anyone. But there's also times where I do something good and I'm like, oh yeah, I should tell people about this, that I did this good thing. You know, and that's like that Rajasic, which is like a term in like the Hindu, like yogic, like
philosophy.
Scriptures. Yeah, they talk about it in like the Gita and stuff, where it's like there's like 3 different levels of how we like interact and make choices. So that's, you know, for something you guys to research. But Rajasic is basically when you're doing something to glorify the image of your ego. Like you're doing something good because you want to look good, you want to feel like you're a good person, or you're doing something good so you can get something in exchange. And sattvic is when you're just giving for love's sake. You're loving for love's sake. You're doing everything for the image of the spirit of the higher good, and you don't feel any need to get something back from it, which is just such a beautiful thing, you know. And like to be moving towards that place more and more is like such a goal. Yeah. And it's something that I think takes so much work. And for anyone to be like, yeah, I'm there already, I feel like most people are lying to themselves if they say that. And it's okay. It's okay that you're not in that place yet. Yeah. But I think it's beautiful to desire to want to be in that place.
Once again, this place, it's like really wants you there.
Yeah, it wants you there, and you feel it inside your being. Like it feels so good when you lean into that place.
So good to lean into that.
And when you're only doing things for like validation or to get something back, it feels kind of dirtied. It
does.
dirties the kindness of that act. You know, like when you do something nice for someone else and then you just feel good about it. But then as soon as you have that hold of that beautiful thing that you did, and then you go around saying to everyone else, oh yeah, I did this amazing thing earlier. Suddenly it feels kind of dirty in yourself. Yeah. Like your heart chakra feels kind of like, oh, why do you do that? Like, why do you feel the need to tell everyone about it?
Can I share?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it's because of our innate knowing on a deepest soul level that we're not separate, and there's this feeling that we're doing and the other person's receiving, and then now we take ownership for that doing, and there's this whole distortion that starts to develop that your heart's just not built for handling that kind of energy. So it's like literally saying no, please, and it creates this tension in your body, you know, this disgusting feeling that you talk about. Yeah. I've really noticed this in me in the past, especially with skyrocketing amount of viewership and everything. I started getting the sense that I'm doing it. And I realized, like, man, I don't do anything.
It's just happening
It's
around
just
you.
happening all around me.
You're just creating and people are responding, and it's all just like part of this bigger picture that you can't even see, right?
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
want to lean more and more into it. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking a break from posting. And that's hard because
Yeah.
the ego doesn't like it.
Your ego likes it. Your ego's like, oh my God, people, they're waiting for me. They need me. Like, what are they
yeah.
going to do if I don't post soon?
Yeah.
And the reality is, like, no one's thought about it.
No one's thought about it. No one.
No one's thought about it.
One of the greatest things is like not taking yourself seriously.
Yeah.
And just lightening up completely to
Yeah.
a point where you're just like
Seeing the cosmic joke and
seeing
everything.
the cosmic joke and everything.
Yeah, honestly, like I have the tiniest following on
Yeah.
like all my socials, the tiniest, like it's pretty much non-existent, you know, and like, it's true. And it doesn't matter. Like I'm not posting things because I want everyone to see it. I'm posting things because I'm like, okay, this is something I feel, I'm just going to share it. And if it resonates with you, come and join.
That's the best way to
Let's
be.
come together. But even still, like I've taken like 3 months off of posting. I was really consistent. I was inconsistent for a long time. Then I was really consistent, and I've taken like 3 months off. And in this 3 months, I'm just like enjoying just being and like learning what I need to learn so I can come back and like share what feels right for me. But there's also a part of me, my ego, which is like, oh my God, there's people waiting, you know, like people are waiting. I haven't posted for so long. Oh my God, I've lost some subscribers. Oh shit, it's because they got bored of waiting for me. But the reality is, no one gives a fuck. No one actually gives a fuck. Everyone's just getting on with their life, living and doing their own thing. No one cares if I've posted a video or not. And maybe they will. Maybe there are some people who care, but also feel like it's not that important in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't matter. And the more that we can let go of that, like I'm doing this for validation, I'm doing this to like give something so I can get something back. It's so much more pure when we make a decision of like, I'm going to do this thing just because it feels good.
You see, this is going to come across a little controversial if you don't understand. I don't see, my guru gets it, but I hope everyone's able to kind of see where I'm coming. I don't care about service. You know what I mean? I serve through God, through me, but I'm not being this kind of martyr for the world, being like, I'm here to serve, to save you, to show you the way. No, like, hey, there's a link in the application if you would like to work with me. Feel free, but there's no compulsion. There's no feeling to want to watch my videos. If you want to watch it, you can watch it or not. But this idea that self-importance started to come up a lot for me before. It's like, oh, this is going well. That means God really values me.
I'm so special.
I'm so special.
I'm gonna save everything.
I'm gonna save everything and everyone. It's like you realize, no.
We're all special.
We're here.
We're all here together.
Are just channels of that beautiful musical note of Om that goes into all the symphony, and it comes back to that reverberation of Om again.
Yep. I honestly feel like the most important thing is just to respond moment to moment.
Yes.
To be. Like, I don't personally, I feel like we all have a special purpose here. I feel like everybody has a special purpose. Like I said, we're all pieces of a puzzle. If any one piece of that puzzle is missing, we can't see the full picture. So that means that every single person here
is equally important. Yeah.
There's no, I'm better than you, I'm here to guide you because you're not good enough. No, we're all guiding each other. Yeah. We're all teaching each other. We're all playing a role in creating the symphony of life. So yeah, I feel the same as you. I feel that we are all serving a purpose. And I don't feel like there's an attachment to like, I must serve, I'm here to serve, I'm here to create something beautiful that other people are going to benefit from. We're all here to share something beautiful together, to create together, to be in harmony with each other. And it's just about helping each other find that harmony by interacting and sharing and loving. So for me, it's just like, I'm here to just be a person. I'm here to just embrace the human experience and to make choices moment to moment that feel authentically right as a human living the human experience. How can I respond moment to moment and receive and give and just have this interplay with the world around me, you know?
Beautiful.
That's the most beautiful thing we can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no superiority, no hierarchies, no bullshit.
Yeah.
Just being a human in a human experience. Simulation, organic simulation that we're living in.
That's a good word to put it, organic simulation.
Yeah, it's a natural simulation.
Very natural.
And we're trying to create AI that can like create a fake version of it, which is like imitating the organic simulation. It's never going to be as good.
Never.
Because it's missing the soul element. But it is still the word that we can, I think, use to describe our reality the best. It's just a big simulation.
Yeah.
Playing out multiple different potentials simultaneously, all with the final goal of answering a question. Yeah. And we don't know what that question is, and that's okay, because we're just a part of the program running and trying to figure out what the answer to that question is.
Do you feel like there's a question?
I think, and again, I don't know. I'm okay not knowing. I'm okay changing my mind. But I believe that consciousness has an intention, and that intention births reality. That intention comes with some exploration, a desire to grow, a desire to explore something. I think like from that unity of just everythingness, that plane of existence that's like beyond this one, I think this thing is happening in response to some intention, some desire to break the just infinite light and create contrast for some reason. And I don't know what that reason is. I think it's about love. That's what I feel. It's about love. It's always about love. It's always about like, what is love? How do we feel it? How do we experience it in its multitudes? And the only way we can have that is first by creating polarity and then allowing that polarity to play into like these multiple dimensions. But then it all comes back and like the final answer is that there is no polarity.
Yeah.
But this is just what I feel, and I could be completely wrong, and I don't care. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
See, what I've felt is that is true, and I've felt into this truth that there are many truths, but then there is the absolute truth, which a lot of these scriptures talk about. Absolute. It's pretty much beingness.
Beingness, yeah.
It's not even any kind of a search. It's just total isness. And they say the Tao says the Tao that's spoken is not the eternal Tao.
No.
So the moment we are actually talking about it,
it's no longer
being. The being.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess we will just leave the question as an open end, and that's a great way. Love, yes, and being. But it's also something so beyond.
It's something beyond that.
So
it's something beyond anything that we can feel or perceive.
Through the mind, yeah.
But that's why there's no point, in my opinion, trying to understand it and make sense of it all.
Yeah. We're not here to understand it, we're here to live it, and we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's here.
Exactly.
We're living it. Can you imagine we're living this right now?
I don't need to imagine, I'm here.
I'm not, exactly. It's just insane.
Yeah.
Like we're having this actual experience of life right now.
Yeah, and it's fucking awesome.
It's so awesome.
I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course.
Really appreciate
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.